Okay, how I went from running a marathon in 3 hours and 25 minutes to running 2 hours and 37 minutes in 11 months. That's a 48-minute difference. Now, I'm not telling you this to brag. I'm not telling you this because I think I've cracked the code or I've got a special recipe or anything like that. The reason I'm so passionate about this and so excited about it is because I think that it's available to anybody. Whether you're running 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours for the marathon, my belief is that most people are aiming safe. They're underachieving because it's human nature. We like to come good on our words. So when we put it out there to friends, family, whoever may be listening, and we say that we're going to run a marathon, we're aiming for a sub 3 hour marathon, we put it out there and we want to deliver on our word. We want to come good and we manage people's expectations. Whatever it is, whether it's running, another sport, another pursuit, business, career, you do not need to do that. And it's a superpower if you can get out of the mentality of thinking that people care what you are doing and people care what you are achieving. So rewind to 2009. I'm working in recruitment. I'm going to work in a suit every day. I'm very, very different to the person I am today. But there's a crash in the market. And I decided to go cycle touring in Asia. I decided to go for 6 weeks and see if the market returns. And that 6 weeks turns into 12 months. And I'm cycle touring. I'm basing myself in Thailand and cycle touring everywhere. And I spent a lot of time on my own on the bike. Literally 8, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, just cycling to the next village, trying to find a hotel. And the funny thing is, call it a spiritual awakening or sort of whatever you wish, but you start, when you spend a lot of time on your own, you start to come up with different questions. And then you start to have the same answers to the questions. And my big question was, are you doing what you love? That should always be your question. Are you doing what you love? And is it making you happy? And I was doing what I love. I loved recruitment, and it was making me happy, and it was making me successful as society judges success. But was it the right path for me? And my answer to that was, I loved running as a kid. I loved football as a kid. I loved sport as a kid. And when a teacher would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? My answer would always be a footballer first and then a runner second. And so that was the path that I deserved to be in. I realized that I was loving just waking up in the morning before sunrise and just cycling as far as I possibly could to the next village. And that endurance, that what you're tapping into, pushing yourself, I loved it. And so I promised myself at the end of 2009 that once I got back to my base in Thailand, I would start running. And on January the 3rd, 2010, I started running for the first time since high school. And I said I'd go out for a run. I thought I'd go out for a 1 hour run, and it lasted about 400 meters, about 5 minutes total running, and I was wiped. And so the cycle fitness hadn't translated to running fitness, but I'd lit a fire inside of me. With the cycle touring and now with the running, I knew initially that progress curve would be super steep, and I knew what I was capable of at high school, and I knew that I could get back to that. I was a bit heavier, more muscular because I've been playing football and rugby, but I've been doing cycling, so I knew I had some aerobic fitness, some endurance, and I knew it was just a matter of following some structure, putting the right habits in place, and I could get good at running again. And so I started to look at every area of my life. Luckily, I had time on my hands, and I was still cycling, I was importing the running, I was inputting that habit, and I was starting to get something off the internet, some structure, starting to do some faster training, and starting to work towards that 5K. And then through that year, I went from not being able to run 400 meters to being able to run 5K, then 10K, then I did a 50K uphill in Spain, which got me into ultra running. But my first marathon was March of 2011, Barcelona Marathon. I remember it so well because all my indicators suggested I should go for a certain time, and that's what I did, and I failed big time. So if you're failing right now, realize that that is just part of the journey. It's part of the path, and it actually makes the journey so much more rewarding and so much more special. And I failed big time. And so after the Barcelona Marathon, it was kind of like another period of reflection, like I was on the bike in Thailand and in Asia. I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? And within that 11 months, from March 2011 to Seville Marathon in February 2012, I knocked 48 minutes off my personal best. So I went from 3 hours 25 and failing miserably compared to what I was aiming for to succeeding. So what happened? You either fail in a big way and you decide, oh, actually, this is not for me, and you give up. Or you kind of take stock and think, right, okay, I'm doing some things right, but I'm not doing others, and what do I need to do more of? And for me, it was a decision. It was literally a decision. It's like you're doing this and you're all in. And if you're all in, you need to look at every aspect of your game. And whether that was a big thing, rest and recovery, you need to take that more seriously. I'm working 80 hours a week, literally working 80 hours a week, trying to re-get a business off the ground. And I'm trying to basically be a professional runner. And that decision in my head was not just we're all in, meaning that we're all in, we're going to try and run a fast marathon time. We're all in. I'm going to try to become a professional runner. So how do I go about that? First of all, I need to get my times faster for 5K and 10K, and then half marathon, and then I can run a fast marathon. Once I have those indicators, 5K, 10K, half marathon, then I can comfortably and confidently go after a marathon, hit that at a decent time, and that should improve. And then what do you really want to specialize in? What's going to be your niche that allows you to be a professional runner? What's going to allow you to be good enough at this point in your life in order for a company to pay you and it's worth their while? And my decision was, okay, 100K running. That's what I love the history. That's what I'm going to do. It was never a question, for me, it was never a question of my own belief. For me, I'm not arrogant in a way that I think I can be better than everybody else. I'm confident in a way that if it's been possible for somebody else, I'm sure that I could do those things and make that happen if I've got an even better work ethic. And that served me, whether it's running, whether it's business, whatever. It serves you. When you realize that work ethic is better than talent, it opens endless possibilities. And so with that, I went all in and I moved to Spain. Luckily, the hardest run and the hardest race I can possibly imagine you could do, somebody had invited me to when I was sort of 6-7 months into my running journey in August 2010. So the Subida del Pico Valletta, I thought if I can move to there and I can get good in that race, I'm going to become good in the 5K, the 10K, the half marathon, the marathon. Naturally, if I can become good at that and move towards the front of the field, all the other running is going to seem easier. Flat running is going to seem easier if you can do like that at 6%, 6.5% for 50K. Naturally, the rest of it is going to become easier. And that's what I did. And what happens is when you go all in and when you become totally obsessed with something, every part of your life, whether it's, unfortunately, friendships, relationships go by the by, and you are now obsessed in becoming a professional runner. In the same way that somebody can be obsessed, and it's okay to be obsessed if that's their profession, because that's what's putting food on the table for their children. That was the mentality. And it was like, you've got to become as good at this as you possibly can in as quick a time, because you've not got the time that younger athletes have. And that was really a big driving force in my early career as a runner. And then it was simplicity. I knew I'd read enough by the top runners to know that I need to run fast. I need to be able to run a fast 5K and a fast 10K, an even better indicator to marathon time. And I need to have the endurance. If I can run 50K uphill, yeah, of course, that's endurance. But if I can run a specific long run, that's even better. On the Sunday long run, I knew that that was the only other day that I could work specifically to the marathon. So a typical long run would be, and I'll use a round figure so it's easy, 25K long run. 5 kilometers, not easy, but 20% slower than marathon pace. 15 kilometers at marathon pace, and then the final 5 kilometers at marathon pace plus 10% or plus 20% again. So that specific middle part, that segment, would be specific to the marathon pace that I'm trying to achieve. And that would be all year round, because I didn't feel as if I had time to have time off, to go on holiday, to let the body recover. I was all about catching up back then. And so within those months, I started to tick off some of the time, and then I started to run quicker for the 10K. I just got involved in everything. And that's another part. The more racing experience you have, the more confidence you have, the less anxiety before the start line, it all comes together. And so I got to Seville in February 2012, and the night before the race, I remember it so well, because me and a friend Mick watches this channel, great guy. He will be towards 60 years old now, but Mick's goal was sub 3:30. And he knew I'd done a 3:25, and he knew I was going for 3 hours and thought it was ambitious. But we stayed in a hotel, and there was a party in the hotel, but we'd stayed there because it was cheap and we could get to the race start really early. And I knew that if I ran 2:59, I would be disappointed with myself because I put so much commitment in, so much drive, dedication, determination, all the good stuff that you need to be good at anything. I put that in for the last nearly a year. And to me, that was a lot of my running journey so far. And so the night before at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, I've got my phone out and I'm calculating the time that I think I can run based on my intervals, think I can run based on the shorter runs that I've done, the shorter races that I've done. So I came up with the time, I can run 2:40. I think I can run 20 minutes faster than what I was initially going for, which is crazy in a way because all the training had been dedicated to me going for 3 hours, being able to last the distance, being able to cover the distance in a speed that I'm capable of. All the training had been geared towards running sub 3. And the night before, because we all have that nervousness, but especially when we get into the running, there's that nervousness, anxiety, we want to do well, but we don't want to disappoint ourselves. And I think that's the difference. Where I told you at the start of the video, most people, they want to manage people's expectations. For me, it's more important what I think. And so if you can flip that, and that definitely came from spending a lot of time on my own, that confidence as to where are you in your life and what makes you really happy. And so the night before, it wasn't a problem for me to fail because the way I look at fail, and this is important too, if you're feeling this way, is if I went out the next day and I held 2 hour, 40-minute marathon pace for 30K or 35K, and then the wheels fell off for the last 7 or 12K, I would see that as succeeding for 30 or 35K. And the next time, I'm going to do even more of this type of training, get even more endurance, and then be able to hit that time. So I would see it as succeeding. And if you reframe it in your psyche to think that you're succeeding, because every single fail is a step closer. Every single no is a step closer to the yes. Every single fail is a step closer. You found another way that it doesn't work. That's the mentality you should have as a distance runner. And I know we only get so many shots at these things. But I went for it, and we got to the start. The start was crazy at the time. Seville Marathon wasn't like it was now. I tried to find photos. We got to the start, and I went off, and I went for that pace. And I remember going through halfway at 1:19, and I felt comfortable, and I was in a group that also looked comfortable. I think it was 5 or 6 of us. I still remember it really well. It was a really beautiful, cold day in Seville, but it was warming up. And when you run a marathon and you can be lucky enough, or you can train hard enough that the second half you can really push, you start to pick people off. And so I was smart enough to know that don't go at halfway, leave it till 25K. I'd learned from my lesson 11 months earlier when the wheels had fell off at literally 22K. Don't fail again like that. Leave it till 25K. And at 25K, I felt good, and I thought, right, okay. And then I thought, no, okay, leave it until 30K. And I went at 30K, and I ran like a dog. And I did exactly the same in London 2017 for another personal best. But I ran like a dog, and I was just chasing seconds and minutes, and doesn't make sense to anybody else in the world apart from runners. And apart from me personally, that time meant everything to me. And then I finished, and I did the second half 2 minutes faster. I did the second half in 1 hour 18, and I came home in 2:37. I think it's 2:37 dead. And I was ecstatic because I hadn't played safe. I'd gone for it. I had my hat in the ring, and I'd gone for it, and it had worked out. And so what can you learn from this? Everything I said in the beginning is completely true. I've not told you this to brag. I've not told you this because I think I've got a secret recipe or I think I've broken the code. There is no code. There are no secrets to distance running. There are no shortcuts. Only weapon you've got is you can outwork everybody. Your work ethic is worth, in running and in life, is worth way more than your natural ability. You see kids that were brilliant at school and then nothing later, because they don't want it as much as you getting back into it. That's the key. You've really got to want it. You've really got to decide, how much do I want this? Do I want it enough to go all in, to be fully obsessed, fully committed, that I will move house for it, move to a small house and get, everything is about training, what you eat, what you drink, what you're lifting in the gym, the way you're trying to lose weight on your body to make a faster chassis, everything to do with the long run, the intervals, everything has got to be related to you getting faster. Once you're all in like that, literally the sky's the limit. And so if you get anything from this, or if you're in a similar situation, if you're at a point and you don't believe something is possible for you, I promise you, unless you've been doing this for 30 years or 20 years, you really are scratching the surface. And that's the brilliant thing about running. The reason why I love it and why it's the perfect metaphor for life, because what you put in, you get out. If you got anything from this, and if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. And as always, like, subscribe, and smash the notification bell.